you so want it. The question on our hearts needs to be, when we say Jesus is our everything, that means He's in control of everything in our lives. That means we're saying, Jesus, you are in control of my opinions. You are in control of the things that I do. I don't want to do or say or think or act in any way that you disapprove of. You are my everything means everything in my life belongs to Him. I have no right to go against what He would want me to do. And that's the hard part about when we talk about managing our anger. It's that we have such built-in habits of handling anger how we want. That we don't like it when we're confronted when God says the way that we handle things is not right. And so I hope that so far we've all been challenged a little bit. And so my prayer tonight is that we are challenged further. And by the time we get to next week and we finish this series and talking about being merciful in our anger, that we realize we are so unlike God in our lives. We are so unlike Him that we need His mercy every single day. And if it was not for His mercy, we would be lost in our anger, in our hatred, in our sin. So we need to have that check-in tonight. And so let me say a word of prayer as we open up. And just once again, I want to remind all the youth and the adults too, make sure this is an undistracted time between you and the Lord. No social media, no texting other people. Don't let any distractions come between you and the Lord, and focus on this lesson tonight. Join me in prayer. Dear God, thank you so much for another night we get to spend together. And God, this subject, talking about managing our anger, God, I know it's something that so many of us, including myself, have or are struggling with. And God, I pray that tonight as we talk about being meek and what that actually means and what it doesn't mean, God, I pray that you can help us to actually have your grace and your strength to do this. Because, God, we lack the ability to be meek in our own strength. We don't have the strength to do this, God. We need you. And just like we need you to get saved and have our sins forgiven, God, we need you to help us be more like Jesus when we are nothing near Him. We are nothing like Him at all. God, we need your strength and we need your grace. And so I pray you help us to focus tonight, pay attention to your word, and God, I pray that we're all challenged and we walk out of here not better people, God, because we're all sinners before you, God, but more faithful people because we're more willing to do what you say. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so here we go. Today, week number 3 of anger management, we are talking about meekness. Now, the verse in James chapter 1, it's verse 21 that we're looking at tonight specifically. So James 1:21 is phrased this way, which says, "Wherefore, or therefore, lay apart all filthiness and superfluity of naughtiness. Put away all sin in your life. Put away all of your wicked ways. Put that aside." And it says, "And instead, receive with meekness the engrafted word." Receive with meekness the engrafted word. So meekness is one of those things where when most people hear meekness, what they really hear is weakness. That's just what it sounds like. When you say a person is meek, you think it means like they're weak. Maybe they're timid, they're scared, they don't really, they don't want to cause any problems, they just kind of stay out of controversy. But that's not what meekness means at all. And so you kind of have to look into that a little bit. But if I was to give y'all a definition of meek, based upon the biblical definition of that, here is what it means. So point number 1 is, what is meekness? Asking the question, what is meekness? And here's the definition. It means strength under control. Strength under control. It does not mean weak. Because here's the thing. I'm going to ask y'all a question. Y'all tell me. Does God want spineless, timid Christians? No. That's not what God wants. If we were scared of causing controversy, then we would never say the truth. We would never say things like Jesus is the only way to heaven, because that's the truth. We would be scared to say that if we were all weak, because we wouldn't want to be anybody to get offended and upset. So meekness cannot mean be weak and spineless and scared, because that's not what even Jesus was. No, it means to have strength, to have power, but to have control over that in your life. So God doesn't want weak Christians. What he wants is disciplined Christians. It's kind of like this. If y'all have ever, I don't even know where to go to watch it. I know there are powerlifting competitions. I know those exist. Okay, and I know there's really strong people who compete every year at these major competitions. In fact, if somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the title given to the world's strongest man is Mr. Universe or something like that. Huh? Olympian, or there's some sort of weird title. I'm sure there's multiple different competitions out there. And so when you think about a guy who's a power lifter, a bodybuilder, that's what I was not body lifter, body builder. That's what I was looking for. These dudes are unbelievably strong, right? And some of these ladies too. In fact, I saw a photo just today. A UFC fighter by the name of Brock Lesnar, right? That's the name. Okay. He has a daughter who's in college, and she was doing shot put. Who in here knows about shot put? Y'all do this in track at all? Y'all see? It's always the biggest, strongest people, men and women, who are doing shot put, because that's incredibly difficult. And Brock Lesnar's daughter is like just as big and jacked as he is just about. You can tell, hey, that's his daughter. Okay, there was no mistake. That's 100% his biological child. And so you imagine the strength that some people have. Now, when you look at people that are unbelievably strong, there's probably something going through your head. I would never want to cross that person. I would never want to make them upset, because you understand that if it's a matter of strength and it's a battle to the death between you and them, probably most of us would lose. Like, but if I have a gun, you don't have a gun. Barehanded, can you take somebody who's a bodybuilder? So that person, every day of their life, despite their tremendous strength and their ability to crush most people with their bare hands, don't do that. As a matter of fact, it's kind of interesting that quite a few bodybuilders tend to be teddy bears. Not all of them, though. That would be a lie. But quite a few of them tend to be people who go along to get along, and they're not looking for fights in their daily life. They have this tremendous power, but they have it under control, and they only use it when they need to. That's the idea we need to have when we talk about be meek. Be meek in regards to our anger. So we've talked about, night one, we talked about we need to be angry about the right things. We need to be righteous in our anger. Don't be angry at things that are not sin, right? Only be angry at things that are sin. And then last week we talked about being slow to your anger. Once you have something that's worthy of anger, be slow, investigate it, make sure you got the facts straight before you react, right? Think before you react. And now, if we're assuming you've gone through that process, you've decided the thing that you're angry at is righteous, you've taken your time and investigated it, you know this person truly did do or say that thing. Now the next thing is, how far can I go with my punishment? How far can I go in my reaction to this righteous anger? Well, the Bible is going to give us some constraint. It's going to give us some things that we need to control in our response. So the first thing that we need to control in regards to our anger is we need to control our thoughts. That's point number 2. Control your thoughts. Did you all know this? That everything that you've ever done in your life, every action you've ever taken, every word that you've ever said began in your head and in your heart before it ever came to your lips or before it ever went to your hands. Your thoughts is where your actions begin. You don't do things before you thought about it or felt it here. As a matter of fact, a good example I could give you this in the Bible to kind of help make this point is James chapter 1, but let's look at verses 14 and 15. It talks about a related sin, and I want to make this comparison here. I think y'all get it a little better. James 1, 14 and 15 talks about lust. It says, "But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. And then lust, which happens in the head, when lust has conceived, it brings forth sin, and sin, when it has finished, brings forth death." That word lust, let me give you all a definition of lust. It simply means this: a strong desire. You really, really want that thing that you're thinking about. Now, lust can be applied to sexual things. It can be applied to you really want a person that's not your husband or not your wife. So that would be a sinful lust. Lust can also apply to something that you want that could be good. Hey, I strongly desire that God would use me in full-time ministry, or I strongly desire that I would have a wife and children someday. But normally in the Bible, when the word lust is used, it's not talking about a good desire, it's talking about an evil one. Just like if you're going out, let's say you're going to the beach, it's getting close to summertime, and you see an attractive person of the opposite sex, and you go, hey, I like what I see. And it goes no further than that, and that thought is put out of your head, and you don't lust after that person, there's no issue. But if you take this person that you've seen, and you start fantasizing and strongly desiring to be with this person who's not your spouse, now you've entered into lust. Now you're allowing this thought, this fantasy, this sin to simmer in your mind. And now, just like James says, that when that lust has conceived, it's planted itself in your head, now you have sin in your heart. You're committing the act in your head. The only thing you lack is an opportunity to actually do anything. Well, in the same way that sexual lust can come in and start in the head, so can your desire to do something evil in response to your anger. Listen, do you think that people who go off and commit a murder as revenge for something this person did to them, do you think they just did that out of nowhere? Or do you think they had the thought, I want to murder this person first? They had the thought first. They allowed that thought to stay in their mind. They allowed it to simmer, and they decided, you know what? Yeah, I want to do that. Hey, yeah, they really do deserve that. Hey, yeah, that would be me getting my revenge just like I want. So if you don't control your thoughts, what ends up happening is you give the devil a playground to play in your heart. You allow him to put ideas and fantasies about forms of revenge that you would never do had you not sat. But because you're simmering on that anger, you're really allowing your mind to go crazy with thoughts about what you want to do to get your revenge. All of a sudden, you now have sin in your heart. And the only thing you lack is an opportunity to act on it. You've gone to a dark place in your head, and eventually it will turn into an action that you do in real life. One final verse that I want to share on this controlling your thoughts point is this. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 26 and 27. It says, be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath, neither give place to the devil. In the same way that God expects you to have control over sexual purity in your head, don't allow lustful thoughts to enter in and remain. You remove those thoughts. You move past them when they come. In the exact same way in regards to your anger, if you start fantasizing about a form of revenge or retaliation because of your anger, and you know it's not right, and you know if you did that in real life it would be a tremendous sin, then you need to let that thought go and don't return to it. The idea here in Ephesians is this: when you have tremendous anger, maybe it's a problem that you can't address yet. When it says don't let the sun go down on your anger, it's saying don't let it simmer in your soul. Don't allow those lustful thoughts to take root, and you get yourself all worked up, laying in bed at night going, oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that. They just need a way. When you don't control your thoughts, those thoughts will begin to control you, and you're giving Satan an entrance into your life to now transition to your words and your actions. So it starts in the head, and we need to control the thoughts that we have before they get out of hand. Point number 2, the next thing we need to control, after we've controlled our thoughts, is we need to control our words. We need to control our words. So we kind of talked about this last week. We talked about, in regards to being slow, don't be quick to speak. This week is a little bit different. We're not talking about how fast you speak, okay? We're talking about what you actually say. What you actually say when you're addressing somebody that you're angry at. And we have two passages of Scripture we're going to look at to explain this idea of controlling our words. Passage number 1 is Proverbs 29:11. It says this, "A fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keeps it in until afterwards." Have y'all ever felt like you've been so angry at somebody? Emma, you can tell me. Tell me yes or no. If you've ever been so angry and you had this thought, I'm going to tell them everything. I'm going to say everything that's on my mind. Have you ever felt like that? I don't know if you've ever done that. I feel like maybe you've probably done it once or twice. I know I've done it once or twice, all right? Where you have thought, I'm going to give them a piece of my mind. I'm going to give a full rant to this person when I get their ear. I'm going to let them know how I really feel. Well, according to Proverbs, if you do that, you're a fool. You're a fool. It says, if only a fool uttereth all your mind. Everything that you think and feel, if you spew it out the moment you get an opportunity, you're a fool according to the Bible, not me. You're a fool for doing that. It says the wise person keeps it in until afterwards. Then we have to ask the question, until after what? Maybe until after you've allowed the anger to pass? Maybe until after you've cooled down? Because even if what you're angry at is righteous, and even if you have all the facts and know that this person did that, you still need some time to simmer down before you say something you should not say. Because how you feel in the moment can be tremendously not right before God. The thoughts that enter into your head and the things that you want to say in the moment may feel good. If I say this and I give them a piece of my mind and I say everything that I want to say, I'm going to feel so good. 99% of the time, you end up regretting it. And we talked about that last week. But there's some science to what I'm saying. I actually did some research on this just so I could prove it to you. This isn't just in the Bible. God also gives us science and He gives us nature for us to study and understand. And of course, these things only back up His Word. Science does not contradict the Bible. In fact, it always confirms it. So there's some science here, and that's what you have on the bottom of your notes. It's a picture of a brain. It's a human brain. And the two parts of the brain that I want to point out tonight, the big part is called the prefrontal cortex. And that small little dot is called the amygdala. If I'm pronouncing those words wrong, you can tell me about it later. I don't think that I am, all right? Google told me, all right? So the prefrontal cortex, this is the part of your brain that is the decision-making part of your brain. In other words, it's the smart part. It's the part that gives you a filter. It's the part that helps you to plan for the future. It's the part that you use when answering questions on a test. It's the logical part of your brain. Now, this is a very important part because if your prefrontal cortex is damaged or missing, you're not a very smart person. You lack impulse control. You lack the ability to restrain yourself. You don't really have as much of a filter. And there are people that can be born with a condition where that part of their brain is less than others, okay? And so you typically see it in their behavior. Now, why do I have this thing up there? And then you got the amygdala, that tiny little piece there. The amygdala is basically the chemical center of your brain. It is what sends out signals and electrical pulses and chemical to give you different emotions. The amygdala is where your anger originates from. Now, here's something that's fascinating. Scientists have observed this. They have observed when a person is at their most angry, the prefrontal cortex shuts down. Their brain literally stops thinking because the amygdala takes over its decision-making. You now become impulsive. You now start saying and doing things you would not normally do when your prefrontal cortex was working. So if that is the scientific case, first of all, I didn't need the science to tell me that. I can observe that in people. I can observe it in myself. I know that when I get angry is when I am the most stupid in my life. I know that's true for me. I'm not going to accuse y'all of being stupid. I'll just do it to me, and you can wear that shoe if it fits, okay? But for me, I've done some unbelievably stupid things in the middle of my anger. So then the question then comes, Why would I want to speak when I am at my most stupid? That is the last time I should be speaking. I should let my stupid state pass over me and get back to my normal operating state, and then I should speak. That just seems to make sense. Like you would say if you were going to go and address a serious, let's say you're the President of the United States, and there's another country that is threatening war with your country, and that leader has agreed to meet with you so you can try to resolve these tensions before it results in a war. Would you say, hey, I need to go and get absolutely slammed drunk before this meeting? I need to make sure I am the least sober, most ridiculous I can be, and that will help me to speak clear. No, you'd be like, that's insane. You need to be sober in that situation. You need to have a sharp mind. You need to be so careful with what you say and do next because you could escalate that. That's exactly right. Well, just like you would say you wouldn't want to speak and say anything important while you're drunk, well, listen, if you're drunk on anger, that you also shouldn't really be speaking at that point. That's where the restraint comes in. You have to recognize that if it's science, the Bible doesn't just say have restraint. Science says that you need to have restraint. It's not a good time to speak and potentially say something devastating that will only cause more problems. Another verse that I want to give, it's definitely related, Proverbs 15:1. Proverbs 15:1. It's very short. A soft answer turns away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. A soft answer turns away wrath. What does that mean? Once again, just like with meekness, some people have this idea that it means weakness. It means bend over backwards and never stand up for yourself. We know that's not what it means. It means, no, you have strength, but you discipline it. Okay, a soft answer does not mean say nice things only. No, it means in the middle of a conflict, in the middle of a situation, in the middle where temperatures are rising in the room and your emotions are getting hot, don't say something grievous. Say something soft. Like, well, what does that mean? I mean, does it mean to like beat around the bush? Does it mean to just say something nice when I don't mean it? I mean, what are we talking about here? Let me give y'all a real-life example, okay? I'm going to do a demonstration of the difference between grievous and soft when addressing somebody that you're angry at. Okay, but I'm going to do this to you, Tucker. Tucker, I'm going to do the demonstration on you, okay? So I need you to give me something that you've done that I'm angry at. Just make something up. No, make something up. You hit me with a dodgeball. Oh, I don't really get angry at that. I just throw it at you back and we have a good time. Something that like I would be legitimately, you've done something really bad. I'll let you make something up though. I don't want to, you know. You push over the piano. On purpose. Let's say Greg hits you in the face with a dodgeball. You lose control of your emotions and come in here and just you kick over that piano. Let's say that. Okay. That's a good idea. Okay. A grievous response to Tucker's behavior. Again, this is a demonstration. This is not how I would react normally. Would be this. Tucker, you're an idiot. I cannot believe you would come in here and disrespect this church. You're an idiot, and I want you to get out of here and not come back. That would be grievous. Because listen, even though what you did was wrong, would you ever want to come back to the church if that's actually how I talk to you? You wouldn't want to come back. And probably you would have lost a lot of respect for me. Because like, but you didn't see Greg hit me in the face and I was, right? But here would be a soft answer. A soft answer is not, oh, hey, Tucker, hey, man, you completely broke that piano and it's perfectly okay. I just want to make sure, let's pick up after our mess. No, that's not a soft answer. That's incorrect, all right? People who do that is not right. Here's a soft answer, according to the Bible. Tucker, come over here. Come on, play on. Tucker, come over here. Come and join me on the stage. I wouldn't be laughing, though. All right. Why'd you push over that piano?
Because Greg hit me in the face with a dodgeball.
What does him hitting you in the face in the dodgeball have to do with this church's piano?
Nothing.
So you kicking over and destroying our property, not only did it not fix your problem, but you created another problem. We need to fix this, don't we? But I need you to acknowledge that this was wrong. You have anything to say?
I'm sorry.
I appreciate that. I'm going to look at this, make sure there's no damage, but that's not acceptable. Don't ever do this again. You understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's go talk to Greg. All right, thank you for being a good sport. I appreciate it. All right. So you see, the soft answer does not mean I don't have anger, and it doesn't mean I don't firmly deal with the problem. What it means is my answer is appropriate to the situation. I'm not trying to make the situation worse than it already is. I'm trying to resolve it. He's still in trouble. And if this thing is broken, I'm calling Mom, and Mom may ground you and make you work to pay it off. You're not getting out of you're not getting out of trouble, but my goal is to firmly but gently correct you, right? Not to drive you out of this church because I've lost control of my words. I saw this really funny video earlier today. I was debating about whether or not to show it, and I feel like I'd just rather describe it because it's pretty short. But basically, there's this dog kennel, and there's like dozens of dogs, and I don't know if it's a professional facility or what. And in this video, all these dogs just start, like these two dogs are going at it. They're barking at each other. They're getting real worked up. All the other dogs are literally circling around to watch it. I'm telling you, they're behaving like humans. It was the strangest thing. You go to Ferris High School, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so all the dogs are gathered around, and they're cheering this on. They're getting all this. And then the problem dogs aren't paying attention. The cameraman pans over, and there's this medium-sized dog not making a sound, just prancing over. There's a dog about 3 times its size that was watching this fight, and when it sees this dog coming, it bows out and gets out of the way. So you know this little dog coming into the scene has got some business he's trying to settle. This little dog comes over and goes right up to the problem dog and pounces on him and gets him to submit immediately. Doesn't bark once. The dog that's on its back now that was causing the problem does a little snap, a little "arr," and the dog just puts its paw right on its neck and gets real close, and the dog shuts up. Now you tell me something right now. It was the craziest video. But here's what's fascinating about that video is the dog with the most power in the situation said the least. Why? There was a respect. I don't need to yell and lose control of my words and get it. It's the dogs that are barking the most that have the least amount of authority and the ability to control the situation. It's the one that comes in calmly and says, hey, don't do that. You'll regret it. Don't do that again. Just like I was telling Tucker, we're not doing this again. Do you understand? That's almost more scary than me just losing my mind because you'd be like, oh, whatever, you're not going to do anything. You may even get angry back and want to yell at me back if I was responding that way. So if dogs can figure it out, we should be able to learn. Hey, I learned a lot from that video. Hey, I deal with youth every week. And while I've never had something like that happen, listen, I had some other situations like, man, I could have used the wisdom of this little dog. Just coming there all calm and intimidating and just, it was so cool. I got to show you the video sometime. Anyway, it's on Instagram. It's on the cyber net, all right? It's out there floating, all right? But control your words. And just to kind of close this idea, to kind of summarize it, grievous words are intended to wound, but soft words are intended to correct. Just like pouring alcohol on an open cut. Okay, soft words don't mean they don't hurt. Just like alcohol, even though it's designed to clean and heal the wound, it's going to hurt, it's going to sting, but at the end it ends up correcting the problem. Whereas grievous words is just like hitting somebody with a club. You're just trying to hurt them. You're not trying to fix the situation and fix the problem. You're just trying to cause more pain. So speak with soft words, not grievous words. All right. Final point, and we'll be finished for tonight. Final thing you need to control is control your actions. Control your actions. So you got to control what you say. You got to control what you think. You got to have restraint, discipline, learn when to say no, and you got to do that with your actions as well. A really good passage that is a very good reminder of why we should control our actions is Romans chapter 12, and we're going to look at verses 17 to 19. And here is what the instruction is. He says, recompense or repay to no man evil for evil. Somebody commits evil against you, do not seek to do it back. It says, provide things honest in the sight of all men. And if it be possible, as much as lies in you, live peaceably with all men. And then he goes on to say this, dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says who? The Lord. So our job, when we get angry at sin, our goal should not be to seek revenge. Our goal should be to seek justice. As a matter of fact, on y'all's notes, I have it phrased this way, revenge seeks to make things even, but justice seeks to make things right. When you talk about revenge, what you're really saying is, I want to do to them what they have done to me. I want to say hurtful things to them as they have said to me or about me. I want to get even. And we think that's fair. That's fair. You hurt me, tooth for tooth, eye for eye, all the rest. I get my lick after you got yours. That's fair. That is not just according to God's word. Let's think about something for a second. If our actions, we're to be seeking justice, meaning we're seeking to properly punish, okay, the bad thing that was done, but we don't want to go beyond that and simply do it back. It would be like this. On 9/11, when our country was attacked, I know most of y'all are like, I wasn't even alive then. Hey, I was 3.5 when it happened, so I don't even remember it very well. But when our country was attacked, I want you to imagine if something like that happened again today. I want you to imagine if you went to school tomorrow and there was a terrorist attack at your school. I know most of y'all, all of y'all, go to Ferris, I think. Okay, some of y'all are homeschooled, so maybe you'd be safe, all right? But imagine a terrorist attack happens. And dozens and dozens and dozens of your teachers and your classmates and your friends were to die in this terrorist attack. Now, there's two things that can happen in response. The first thing is that the police and the military go and get the people who did it and bring them to justice. That would be the right thing. The wrong thing would be for you and a bunch of other people to become terrorists and go and attack another school as retaliation. One is getting even, the other one is doing what is right. We want to seek what is just. We don't want to simply repeat the sin back, because then now these other people who didn't wrong you are now sinned against, and then now they want to sin against you. And in doing that, they're going to hurt even more innocent people, and now these innocent people want to sin, and you create this endless cycle of sinning against somebody else and them sinning against you, because nobody's seeking justice. Everybody's just seeking revenge. They want to get even. That's not biblical. Revenge only belongs to the Lord, because He's the only one who knows how to dish out revenge in a correct way. We don't. We don't know how to do it, so we only should be pursuing justice. What is the right response? When you think about ways you can lose control of your actions when you're angry, one of the first things, signs that you're losing control of your actions, is you start breaking things and objects in your anger. Remember when I shared with y'all on the first week when I was talking about getting mad when I was renovating this house over here, and I got mad at that piece of wood that wouldn't fit into the frame correctly, and I broke it and threw it and did all that? You know, it was actually in that moment, after I'd done throwing my temper tantrum, broken this thing that, you know, I guess I felt like I was hurting its feelings and getting revenge. It was actually a thought came into my mind after I had finally cooled down. And it was as if the Lord was giving me a warning. Tyler, if you don't get control of your anger, you will eventually hurt somebody you love. And I was like, whoa. Because here I am excusing the breaking of things, the beating of things, and I'm justifying it saying, well, I'm angry. This piece of wood wouldn't cooperate. So I beat it, and I crushed it, and I'm right to do that. If I don't get control of that, and that behavior gets worse, eventually somebody I love is going to get beaten. Because what you do, what you think about in your heart, what you say with your mouth, eventually it's going to come out with your actions. And if I keep feeding this angry beast over here, eventually I'm going to end up hurting somebody I really love. Listen, I've never, and Shay can attest, I've never put my hands on my wife when I've ever been angry at her. But it was the thought that scared me. What if I did? I need to get control of this. It's not right for me to respond this way. So breaking things is one of your first signs that your actions are getting out of control. You need to have restraint. Don't break that thing to get that release. It's not going to give you release. You're merely feeding a beast and making it stronger. Tell yourself, no, I'm not going to react that way. I may be as angry as all get out, and there's not a single soul around me, but I'm not going to break a single thing out of my anger. I'm going to have that restraint. Another way that you might be losing control of your actions is you're giving out unfair punishment to the person who's wronged you. Your punishment is not meeting the crime. It's too harsh. It's unfair. It's overbearing on the person. You're not even trying to help them do what's right. You're just simply seeking that revenge like we talked about. Hurting people, breaking things, giving unfair punishment, these are all examples of losing control of our actions. Let me share with you all a real story. And this happened recently. Somebody that I know was involved in this story. There's a man that he got into a really bad accident a little while ago. And in this accident, he met with this insurance people, and they were saying, because the accident wasn't his fault. I mean, he had a really bad back injury. Because this accident wasn't his fault, they're going to be able to sue this company and do this and that. He's going to get a big payout, all of his medical expenses. It's going to be the setup. Well, it didn't work out the way that he thought it would. The guy that was defending him in court eventually dropped his case. Well, this man, started simmering on the idea that, you know what? I need to get revenge on this guy for dropping me. He promised me the world. He promised that my back would be taken care of. He promised that I'd be able to provide for my family. You know what? He lied. Then he came up with this idea. I'm going to drive down to this guy where his office is, and I'm going to murder him. That was his thought. Well, then he goes to some of his family and starts telling them what he wants to do. He had already been thinking about it for a while, and because he didn't control his thoughts, now it's translated into his actions, now it's translated into his words, and now he's telling people he can't contain. He's ready to go and do this. And then eventually one day, and this was recently, he drives out there going to look for this guy, and thank goodness somebody in his family called the police and said, hey, I think he's going to go kill somebody. Y'all need to go get him. And the police were able to intervene in the parking lot as he was getting ready to go in and murder somebody. Now you think about it, this man went through and had no control over his thoughts, and it led to no control over his words, and it led to no control over his actions. It started here. And thank goodness he didn't end up pulling the trigger. But there's a very good chance he's going to spend a good chunk of his life in prison for an attempted murder. Guys, listen, you may think, I'd never do that. I would never go to that extreme. Remember how I said that when you're at your most angry is when you're the least logical? How do you know it won't get that extreme? Are you feeding it now? Because it'll only get worse. See, that train of events didn't happen overnight. It happened over a long period of time in this man's life where he wasn't controlling his anger in this situation, in that situation. And then he just became an angry person generally. And now when he's given a situation that's so extreme as his, he thought, logically, I need to go and shoot the guy. That's clearly the answer. There's no logic to that. He fed this sin. He fed an unrighteous response, and eventually that's where we landed. Last verse and we're finished. Matthew 26, 51 to 53. And I want to give you all a story from Jesus' own life to show what it means to have physical restraint when you want to get revenge. So Jesus is about to be arrested. This is before he's crucified on the cross. And so they're putting him in cuffs, and it says, and behold, one of them which were with Jesus, one of his disciples, and this is Peter actually, stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck a servant of the high priest and smote off his ear. In case you don't catch that, some people don't know this. when you're going, and I wish I'd had a sword. Caleb, you remember, we demonstrated this together. You remember, right? Okay, I'm going to use this is my sword. Are y'all ready? Actually, you know what? No, this is cooler. I'm going to use this. This is my sword. All right? If you're going for somebody's, let me put it this way. If you're trying to kill somebody, what's the fastest way to kill somebody with a sword? Chop their head off. Okay. So Caleb, come up here. We're going to demonstrate. We're going to do this again. I'm going to use your own weapon against you. All right? So pretend I'm Peter, and I see these punks arresting Jesus, and I want to take them out so Jesus can go free. If I'm going for your head, the only way you can duck to save your life is how? Like this. So when it says it cut off his ear, he wasn't aiming for the ear. He was aiming for the dude's neck. Had the guy ducked the other way, I would have succeeded. But he was dodging the blow to his neck. Peter missed. You can go sit down now. You're good. Thank you once again for demonstrating. It's a very important thing. So Peter was trying to kill this guy. Look at what Jesus says after Peter does this. It says, "Then Jesus said unto him, Put up thy sword into his place. For all thee that take the sword shall perish with the sword. Thinkest thou that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels?" Here's what he's saying. Peter, you think you can seriously protect me as if I need your help? Peter, if I wanted to, I could snap my fingers and call down 12,000 angels to defend me. I need to go to the cross, Peter, and you and your anger, you and your out-of-control actions are getting in the way of my plan. He was getting on to Peter because Peter wasn't really protecting Jesus. He was getting in the way of Jesus' plan because he didn't control his anger. He didn't have faith that God was going to take care of this, so he wanted to take vengeance into his own hands. And he got rebuked by Jesus for it. So in the same way, when we look at our lives, when we have the ability to really hurt somebody, to really put a beating on them, to really punish them, and to go too far, we need to remind ourselves that the Jesus who we serve and love, who saved us, he showed restraint when he could have absolutely gone all in. Just like we talked about last week, if God is patient with us in our sin, why would we be impatient? Well, here's another question. If God shows discipline and control when he's the most powerful being in the world, why shouldn't we show restraint? Why should we not hold back what we want to say and want to do because we think, I'm going to get my revenge? Will that actually help that person or help me? I need to be thinking like Jesus in this moment and realize God's in control of vengeance, and I need to leave that to him. I will pursue justice. I'm not going to let bad behavior go, but I'm not going to pursue revenge. I'm going to let Jesus take care of that, and I'm going to show restraint, and I am not going to go all of the way. Now, as we get to the close tonight, unless I don't think there's anything I missed on y'all's notes, there's no blanks that I didn't go over, is there? Okay, I did that last week by mistake. I want us to have that thought in our mind. Do you show constraint? Do you have control over these things? Or have you been letting these things simmer? Thoughts simmer, letting words go, letting actions go. Listen, like I said at the very beginning, you can't control your own anger. You need the help of Jesus every single day to do it. When you are at your most angry, here's what you should do. Stop everything that you're doing, stop everything that you're about to say, and literally go privately and say, Jesus, I need you to give me the restraint that I lack. Because if I get my hands on this person after what they did, I would not do something right. Jesus, can you help this anger to pass? Help me to be patient. Help me to trust you. And when I get to them, Father, help me to show restraint because I don't have it. You have to recognize that you are incapable of doing it on your own and go straight to Him. Listen, that's true for every single one of them. There's not a single person in here who's exempt from that instruction. We all need to do that. And so let me say a final closing prayer for us. And I want y'all to be thinking about that. And if y'all have any further questions for me, Y'all have any prayer requests you would like to come and talk with me about, or just you want to talk in general, we will have time to do that after the service tonight. Let me say a final word of prayer. Dear God, thank you so much for all your blessings. And God, I pray that as we talked about restraint tonight, God, meekness and self-control, God, I pray that you help us to realize, God, that none of us are good at it. We're terrible. And God, without your grace and your help, we would be so far off course. But God, it is through the strength of Jesus and Jesus alone, you gift us the ability to have restraint. But God, we have to come to you and ask for it. God, we have to trust in and rely on you and stop trying to do it ourselves. God, we can't. Trying to control our anger is like trying to control a T-Rex, God. We just simply don't have the strength for that. It is you and you alone who gives it to us, God. So help us to come to you. Help us to submit to you. And God, ultimately, God, I pray you help us to confess when we have done wrong. And God, and to always take our sin and failure to you humbly and ask for your mercy and ask for your forgiveness. And in Jesus' name, amen.